Welcome along to episode 20 of The Endless Stream. I'm Aidan, and I am joined as usual by Brian and Kevin. Each week we take some of the endless stream of content delivered to us through Netflix, Amazon, Disney+, Hulu, YouTube, Spotify. Wherever you get your content, we're going to grab a chunk of it, we're going to watch it, and we're going to talk about it. Given the nature of these conversations, they are very spoiler heavy, so if you haven't seen what we're talking about, it's probably worth going off and watching it before you come back and listen to the podcast. This week we talk about a lot of trailers, we talk about a lot of upcoming movie and sort of celebrity news. In terms of main event, we watched the movie Ladyhawke. This is a 1985 medieval fantasy from Richard Donner, starring Rutger Hauer, Michelle Pfeiffer and Matthew Broderick. The statute of limitations on spoilers on this thing is well and truly up at 36 years old, so I think you're pretty much safe to jump in and listen to it this week. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to the podcast and heading over to Instagram and giving us a follow. We are at The Endless Cast on Instagram. We do sketches and video clips and interact with our audience as best we can over there, so it's a good way of getting a little extra engagement and extra content from us. If you'd like to suggest something for us to watch or listen to or have a comment on anything we've done to this point, you can reach us also at theendlesscast@gmail.com. All of that being said, let's get into the episode. This week on The Endless Stream, did you all watch the trailer for Lamb from A24?
Yes.
Yes'm.
That's Noomi Rapace?
Yes'm.
Did it go where you expected it to go?
Yes.
I'm not sure. Like, at one stage, I did think, technically, they did rob that child from his mother. And that mother has a right to be angry.
It is kind of typical sort of A24 scary, rural landscapey stuff. Slow droning music in the background. And I don't know if you think this when this happens, but whenever I don't hear dialogue for an extended period of time in a trailer, I'm like, oh, this is going to be subtitled, and they don't want to let people know that this isn't in English. And sure enough,
Oh, I didn't even notice.
there was a lot of like looking at each other and sort of spooky ways. What was the song that kicked in at a certain point?
I just watched that House of Gucci trailer, so all I can think of that song. I have no idea.
I don't know what I was expecting from this type of trailer. Like, the way it was setting it up was like, here is a herd of sheep that is intent on killing Noomi Rapace and her husband or something. But like, I did not expect it to turn into a half human, half sheep hybrid child that they're dressing up. But apparently Brian did.
Do you think he fucked a sheep?
God only knows what I'd do without you. Is it the Beach Boys?
Beach Boys, yeah.
Don't like the Beach Boys. Overrated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not interested in music at all. I don't know why I actually really dislike them. I don't know why.
You really dislike them?
I don't dislike them, but they're certainly overrated. That doesn't mean they're bad. You know, just means that there's a point of mass saturation where too many people are saying
It's great.
Like the Doors.
the best thing ever. Yeah, and it doesn't mean it's not great. It's just
The Doors are
the
awful.
Doors are bad. Doors
But
are
everybody loves them.
objectively bad.
But people think he's brilliant.
The Doors suck.
He
Jim
did. He couldn't
Morrison
write a song to save his
sucks.
life.
But back to Lamb.
No. That's a valid topic of conversation as well. I was only saying this recently about somebody else, where I'm just like, if you die young but have had a good photographer around you for a while,
Yep.
you know, they can build your legacy, or an agent or a promoter or a production company that wants to can build your legacy around, you know, good photojournalism around you.
Morrison was a good-looking piece of shit, and yeah.
I do remember somebody
about
made
it.
a comment about, like, you know, he looks good in a photograph, but imagine being around a guy who hasn't washed in 6 weeks and hasn't taken off leather trousers in California heat for a month. You know,
It's not even that though. It's the ego and the narcissism, which the guy oozes. Doesn't he just ooze narcissism though?
I just never understood it. And it's like, also, like, you know what? Like, just talking about overrated stuff. Bob Dylan can't sing.
Well, no, he can't sing, but he doesn't really need to sing.
Hey, the man, the president, and we're people gonna stand up. That's Bob Dylan.
tighten up your Dylan.
I'm not gonna do that. No.
Tighten up your Dylan. Squeeze your Dylan.
Don't take your Dylan out in public.
There's the episode title.
Lamb, I don't know what's going on. Where the child's origins come from. it might be some sort of like I suppose if
But you're interested.
oh yeah, I'll definitely watch
Did
it.
A24 release Midsommar?
I would have thought so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Hereditary.
So when they've got that lamb and the flower crown, like there's
Yeah.
no way they don't know what they're doing there, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they know exactly
Yeah,
what
it's
they're
kinda
doing. Yeah. Yeah.
Do I watch this movie?
I'm definitely watching it.
You have to watch Midsommar first.
I watched Midsommar.
That actually, now we're getting slightly to a planning stage, and this is a side topic altogether, right?
We gotta watch Hereditary with you, Aiden. We gotta. We'll watch it with you. We'll get you through it. Let's do
a
that.
live watch.
A
It
live
is
watch.
July
Let's do it.
now. I don't know what that means, and I'm also scared. It's July now. By the time this episode goes out, it will be August.
That's the
So
future.
we have say 7 weeks,
What If is out next week, isn't it?
but we have 7 weeks until we are recording a podcast that will be out in October. What is our Halloween series of movies? Do we pick movies we haven't seen? Do we pick Halloween horror classics?
We watch Hereditary.
Like if we've got 4 weeks worth of podcast, what are our horror movies? Maybe that's something we ask the audience.
You could ask them.
I'd like everybody to get Aiden to watch Hereditary, please.
Over on Instagram at the Endless Cast, maybe comment on a picture what you think we should watch going into October for our Halloween
Halloween
month
extravaganza.
Scare Aiden series.
It's gonna be a whole month of it.
I'm
One.
so unsettled.
At least one horror
mean,
movie a week.
Ghostbusters is kind of scary, right, guys?
No.
Midsummer's not that bad. As in, it's not scary. It's actually really not. Midsummer's not scary. It's upsetting in places. but
I'm just
not.
trying to.
I do think we should look for kind of like I like digging into the historical stuff as well. Like let's look for like obscure or older horror movies that either some of us or none of us have seen.
No, let's keep it fresh and
or
youthful.
throw a couple of classics.
Fresh and
I
youthful.
don't like youth.
I want to be current.
Jacob's Ladder would be a good one to check out, actually, if you haven't already.
Oh, you guys are the worst.
But Aiden hasn't seen it.
I just spent the last 2 hours watching 1985 Ladyhawke.
theendlesscast@gmail.com if you have a suggestion for a Halloween horror movie or otherwise that we should watch going into October. Lamb, we've spent way too much time on Lamb, and at the same time no time on Lamb. Weird looking movie. Didn't expect the child sheep hybrid,
Could be cute. It depends on how it works, but
especially given sexy beasts. Are half human animals hybrids just the zeitgeist now? Is that what we have to look forward to? Is this the age of furries?
Don't forget Sweet Tooth.
And Sweet Tooth.
my sweet
Has
tooth.
furry finally gone mainstream?
Furry's always been mainstream. It's particularly in the 80s and early 90s, and then it kind of dipped and now it's back again. Look at Street Sharks, Turtles, you know, all that kind of stuff. Was all my whole childhood was based on like half human, half animal things. Animorphs being the pinnacle of it all and the sexiest of it all.
The sexiest of them all.
Yes.
Later we'll be talking about a woman that turns into a bird. Kevin might be onto something. Alright, the other trailer then, I watched King Richard, which is the new Will Smith biopic of Richard Williams, the Williams sisters' father, and the road to creating Venus and Serena Williams as world tennis champs. I mean, they cut together.
Why isn't there a film about them?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
It does.
Is this not stupid? Yeah.
Yeah. Let's make a film and give the guy all the credit for their successes.
Yeah, it's awful. It's horrific. That kind of shit drives me mad.
Yeah.
Who was remotely interested in making this movie? Who wants to see this movie?
Potentially Venus and Serena Williams.
Nah, did they even like their dad? I think.
Thing I imagine they've seen plenty of them.
But is he one of the, like,
This is true, Brian.
what's Michael Jackson's dad's name?
Mr. Jackson to you.
Joe Jackson, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like he was the sort of allegedly abusive father that drove them towards success or whatever. I don't know if that's the same of the Williams sisters. Go
But I
on.
think it's like Britney Spears and stuff. It's like I just associate some of these people with problematic parents that kind of push them too much and too hard and are selfish and stuff, you know.
But given where you, I, and Brian are now in our lives, do you think we'd be happier if we had spent the last X amount of years becoming multi-millionaire sports stars or something, and now could just retire to nothing?
People are successful because of a lack of limiting beliefs. You don't need to push that hard, especially when it's, pushing somebody else. People are successful because of their own lack of limiting beliefs in themselves.
Yes. Whether you think you can or you can't,
it's proven in sports psychology and any sort of performance psychology. Sure. It's one of the crucial factors is an environment where limiting beliefs aren't a thing. So, no, I don't think an overbearing, pushy parent is a good thing. Yeah,
I know what you're saying. I look, I don't know enough about the relationship with the father or how the father raised them to get them to that point. I do know that you see superstars with parents that built a environment in which was entirely focused around their sport or their goal or whatnot, that they do. You have seen success come out of that, whether or not the kids on the other end of it are kind of damaged. I'm always skeptical of this type of film when the people they're making it about are still alive. Especially when it's like that looks very glowing about L. Richard. So I don't know. I like Will Smith. I like positive messages about young people achieving, which is what the trailer does seem to highlight. It doesn't highlight.
Why isn't it about their achievements?
I would wager that the movie gets to the point where they're tennis, where they go pro,
where they change the name of the movie to be about the people that it should be about.
I don't have answers for you.
This is it's.
I don't know Richard's challenges.
It's just more of the same bullshit.
Let's see what Richard's challenges
were. It's
about
time we learned his contribution in making two of the greatest tennis players that ever lived, because it's been so long and not enough talked about, and it's time we finally know the part he played in their success.
No, I want to boycott this movie.
I'm not coming from the same place Kev is coming from.
Yes, Brian, let's boycott it.
Because there does seem to be I'm only going off the trailer. I don't know the truth of it, but
put it this way.
You are talking about he had to go and get them.
Sorry, can I finish?
Coaches and stuff.
Can I finish?
Okay.
Put it this way. Can I finish? No, seriously, no. I haven't heard of this man in the news in the last bloody 10 years. Why the hell do we have a movie about him? You always hear about the Venus Williams sisters. Venus Williams sisters? Williams sisters. One of them's called Venus? Williams sisters. I'm not tennis, I don't know. But
you're not tennis.
I'm
you
not
remember
tennis.
that.
I'm just reminding you guys. But I just mean, you see them in the news. Why do we have a movie about someone who it's like, do I want to watch a movie about Tom Brady's dad? No.
I don't know. What did Mr. Brady do?
Let's get a movie about his sports psychologist though, because that guy did something. Brady was nobody's pick until he started working with this sports psychologist whose name I can't remember. But yeah, it's kind of insane actually if you look at where Brady was and where he is after working with this guy. Let's make a movie about that. What happened there?
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
What did he do?
Just probably told him he probably said, "Hey Brady, you know what, buddy?
He did brain voodoo."
So that's King Richard.
You know what it was? It was the no limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
So our beliefs are too limited at the moment, Brian.
Yes.
Is this it?
100%.
Yes. 100%.
So how do I unlimited my beliefs? I'm interested in your messages. I'd like to learn more. Have you got any literature? Is there a pamphlet?
I have some literature. There's a newsletter. It's $5 a month on my Patreon though.
People have to send you $5.
$5.
Particular genres?
5 notes. 5 clams.
Yeah, just you gotta believe. You gotta believe you can.
I'm not a cult.
All right, Poppy, calm down.
And I'm not tennis.
I'm not a cult.
So King Richard with Will Smith. The important thing to remember in the story about the Williams sisters is that Will Smith is a big famous movie star. Okay. House of Gucci. I missed this last week. We talked about Ridley Scott for a chunk last week, and
Yeah, I was listening to the podcast.
It didn't come out last week, though.
Oh no, I was listening to the podcast and I was like, "Ye idiots, ye fools! This is embarrassing." You talk about Ridley Scott and you don't know what he's doing, and he has this new movie coming out with a star-studded cast. Amateurs.
well, we do keep you around, Kev, because of your connections to fashion.
The trailer came out yesterday.
Yes, Brian, I'm aware it came out yesterday. I was listening to the podcast yesterday.
But we were digging through his IMDb a bit and getting a sense of what he was doing, and I missed this. But
You missed nothing.
I think it looks good.
I thought it looked good for all of 5 seconds until everybody started doing Italian accents, and I was like, "This is
I was
going
just
to
gonna
get
say-
old really fast."
I was just going to say, Jared Leto, he's playing Lady
what's
Gaga.
he doing? He's doing Tom Cruise in Tropic Thunder.
I'm gonna look like Jared Leto when I'm, as in Jared Leto in that makeup, when I go bald and fat. That's upsetting. I'm gonna look like that. I can just tell.
Well, you're none of those things now.
Does your father look like that?
You're not a cult.
Not a cult. I am not a cult. I'm not saying I look like Jared Leto. I'm saying I'm gonna look like whatever he's playing in the trailer.
Like Jared Leto.
He's trying to say I look like it. It's like when
Not a cult.
girls say, "Oh, I really like this actress. She's great," and you're like, "Mm-hmm," and just like, "What do you think of her?" And he's like, "Yeah, she's cool." He's like, "Do you think she's pretty?" He's like, "Yeah, she's pretty." And like, they literally just want
Some
you to say,
people say I.
"Yeah." Some people think I look like her. Yeah. Any man with a beard and big eyebrows. I mean, that's
you.
me.
There you are.
Yeah. The Fall with Gillian Anderson. That's me. I'm Gillian Anderson.
You're Gillian
I'm not
Anderson.
Dennis. I'm Gillian Anderson. Yeah.
Well, you're not Jamie Dornan,
Who's that?
the other guy in The Fall.
I didn't watch it.
Okay.
I normally don't watch stuff I'm in.
I watched one season of it and got scared and stopped.
Fair.
Went
But there's a
back
guy
to
in that apparently looks like me or my father.
He's got the eyebrows. Yeah, looks
Yeah.
exactly like Kev.
One lady on a night out was convinced I was Colin Farrell, and I found an empty bag and gave it to her, and she was chuffed that she got Colin Farrell's bag. I took a photograph with her. I didn't really want to.
Does he want us to say that he looks a bit like Colin Farrell? Or
He totally
what should
does.
we do? Yeah, you do look a bit like Colin Farrell. You know, you've got the
It's just
eyes.
the
You know,
eyebrows.
you've got the
It's
piercing
just the eyebrows.
and the
No,
confidence.
stop.
You know,
I do not have the confidence Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell's notoriously insecure.
Yeah. He really is.
Oh, so I'm exactly like Colin Farrell, both in looks and personality.
You are
I hear what you're saying, guys.
exactly
Just the brows. The brows. Oh, actually, no, wait till we talk about Ladyhawke. I just remember something.
Is it Alfred Molina?
It's Alfred Molina.
Yes, I didn't realize he was in it. Wow, yeah.
Neither did I.
How did you know that?
There's a weird
Yeah.
like Alfred Molina kind of we're going to getting off here. Alfred Molina kind of wandered into like a kind of like suave European kind of guy as he went on a bit, you know. But his early roles, he is just like chaotic homeless person, you know, like
Yeah.
Indiana Jones.
He's
and stuff.
great, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I was agree with you. The second the trailer started, I was like, good choice of music. Looks good.
Yeah.
Gaga looks
Yep.
good. And then everybody's doing Italian accents. It's like, this is stupid.
Lady
but
Gaga is
Gucci.
half Italian, though, right?
It's a mia. I'm a talker like this.
Is Adam
I'm a
Driver
Gucci.
Italian?
Bad.
Hmm?
No.
Is
But you know what,
is Al
I just-
Pacino Italian?
I mean, yeah. You know.
I think Italian
Italian
heritage
American,
is probably a better
yeah.
question to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was going to say, oh wow, me and Aidan said at the same time, and it reverberated in my ears.
I have to cut these. I got to stop doing it because every time I do,
Okay, every time you do it on the cast, I'm going to do it to remind you that you're doing it, to get you to stop doing it. You'll have to cut my ones out
good
too,
for
though.
me.
That's the problem.
no, actually will. What I thought about watching the House of Gucci trailer is what kind of period in filmmaking have we reached where the period movies that we're making are that sort of 80s, early 90s thing? Because The Eyes of Tammy Faye have that as well, where Jessica Chastain is wearing the Jared Leto prosthetics to look chunky and weird. And there's a 90s aesthetic that seems to be popping up in some movies at the moment, and I don't like it. I'd rather it didn't.
I think it's a hyper stylized
The sort of
version
shell
of it, you know?
suits.
But it's a hyper stylized version of it. It's like when you watch stuff like from the based in the 80s. It's just like not every person in the 80s was going around with like full face of makeup and.
But the 80s were only 15 years ago, right? Right?
They were 10 years
they
ago.
were 30,
10.
guys.
10 years ago. I'm only 10 years
30
old.
years ago.
No, the 80s were 40 years ago. But, you know,
You're both almost dead.
they were 40 years ago.
Well, no, technically they started 40 years ago, but they ended
Yeah.
30 years ago.
Please.
That was over.
That's maths.
I'm so old.
I'm still the youngest of everybody. Happy birthday, Aiden. Happy birthday, Brian. It was your birthday this week. What happened 9 months ago?
It was cold.
30 odd years ago. Oh, yeah, okay, fair. Someone forgot to turn on the central heating.
Central heating in the 80s wasn't a thing.
Someone's parent finished a book.
All you had was a shell suit and a board pneumonia briquette and hope for a mild winter.
I was watching that trailer. And I was kind of into it. And then it just kind of, then I realized that was Jared Leto, and I was a little bit like,
It's a bit weird, isn't it?
is some of this stuff they're going to look back at the stuff in the future and be like, why were there so many like non-Italian people doing Italian accents and stuff?
We're already thinking that, I think.
Yeah. Meet Joe Black. People should watch that.
It's weird though, like, you know, they make something like, let's say, like, it's weird where they draw the line with this stuff and the logic. It's like nobody's doing Italian accents in Gladiator. Nobody's doing Italian or French accents in Les Mis, I don't think. You know, but it's like, we got to do it for this.
I guess the difference is playing real people. Like I did Google this story, and it's another one where it's like, this was 1997, and I don't remember this, but I guess I wasn't into Milanese fashion in 1997. But the allegation is she killed her husband. Well, she served 18 years in prison.
She served how many years in prison?
18 years in prison, I think, off the back of it. Very weird story. Didn't Versace get assassinated or something as well?
Yeah.
On the steps of somewhere.
In the 90s?
On the steps of a hotel or something, was it? Or
It was outside his house, I think.
What was going on with fashion designers in the 90s that people were trying to off them?
Money, power, drugs. Trafficking.
It's interesting with Jared Leto that, like, maybe it's just me not being interested, but I don't know enough. Let me rephrase. Not that I don't know enough. I don't know anything about him as a person, and I don't want to. And then he pops up in movies, and they're kind of like odd, and I'm like, I'm grand with whatever the fuck he does because I don't know anything about him. Like, so by comparison, I don't know if I mentioned that I watched the Amazon original Jolt this week with Kate Beckinsale. And recently I have seen a bunch of her like Instagram content where she's just like faffing about in her kitchen with her cat and is such a goofy idiot that for her then to be playing this like hardened bouncer superpowered monster, I'm like, this is
it a good movie?
This is kind of hard to believe now.
Is it a good movie?
Because I know more about her than I did before. It is not a good movie. Everybody tried really hard. Jolt, and I'm changing the subject. Jolt is an Amazon original about a woman who has a impulse disorder, high levels of cortisol flowing through her system that she snaps and attacks anything that goes on. The high levels of aggressive hormones in her body make her faster and stronger than other people, and the only way she can control her impulses and stop hurting people is she wears a vest that initiates an electric shock whenever she starts to feel a twinge coming on. The electric vest was given to her by Stanley Tucci, and he gets to be all Tucci-ish.
An electric vest would not make me less stressed.
It's like a shock collar for a dog
that she carries around, and she goes zzz, and yeah, basically it shocks her out of wanting to go and
I think that
as
would
Bobby
make anybody
Cannavale
more
says at
stressed.
one point in it, she'd rather hurt herself than hurt somebody else.
Aw.
And it's got Jai Courtney in it, and it's got Filch from Harry Potter, that guy, as a big bad guy. Oh god, I wanted to like it. Like, everybody's trying, and to be fair, Kate Beckinsale can sell a punch. Like, she has been doing action movies long enough now that, like, when she's doing stunt work, I kind of buy it. Like, I do. She's got good physicality and kinesthetics about her, that she like throws her hip and shoulder into a punch, she falls over well. They do cut together with a stunt person effectively, but you know, when there's chase scenes or driving scenes, the camera's way too close, and that's to hide the fact that they've got no space, they've got nowhere to go. Every exterior shot is on the same backlot street from a slightly different angle, and there's a lot of her walking from place to place, and it's the same fucking street, and they like try and paint the back wall with graffiti every now and then they try and have a car chase on the one street. It's actually worth looking at to see how funny that is. Like, it's frustrating to watch it. Like, they make a point of the car she steals to do the car chase, and then there's a lot of driving back and forth on the same street, and then it cuts to stock footage that they shot a second unit around a city somewhere. It's a very weird movie.
Sounds very low budget.
Don't watch it. Yeah, there's a chase around a hospital, and like, I think it's kind of done as a single take thing. At one point she runs into the maternity ward of the hospital, and to avoid the police officer who has a gun to her, picks up a baby and throws it across the room. Just throws the baby across the room, and your one has to stop and catch it, and she runs to get out of the room but doesn't run fast enough, so she has to pick up another baby and throw it across the room.
She's throwing babies.
Throwing babies.
If you're going to do something,
it's a
twice,
weird
you should
choice.
do it 3 times.
Why didn't she? Why didn't she not just do the classic grab a doctor and kiss them, or a nurse?
I think it's trying to channel like John Wick meets shoot 'em up kind
It
of
sounds like Crank.
thing. Yeah, there's a bit of that to it as well. It's
Crank was wild. Very good movie.
Crank. Yeah, skip Jolt, watch Crank. Would I watch it again? No. Susan Sarandon shows up at the end as if they're setting up a sequel, but Susan Sarandon has a remote control for her shock vest. I'm like, why does she have that?
I don't even want to talk about this anymore.
I mean, none of you seem to want to talk about it at all. I'm doing a lot of talking.
That's awful.
Why won't you talk about Kate Beckinsale's career?
I like Underworld. The first one
When
was
I
good.
paused it, the Amazon trivia said, trivia, Kate Beckinsale has played both a vampire and a vampire hunter.
Go away.
Go ahead.
Have you watched anything this week, Brian?
I
don't mean stop, I mean literally go away. Okay.
Her dad was the guy in Porridge.
He was. I like Porridge.
Porridge is good.
Yeah.
He was a handsome.
The good Ronnie.
Handsome. Was he not the skinnier handsome fella? Or was he the older guy?
Oh, no. He was, but I'm just saying that had Ronnie Barker in it.
Oh, yes, the two Ronnies.
Apparently, they wouldn't let him write on the show, so he submitted scripts anonymously and wrote under a pseudonym or something. Something weird going on there.
Who was in Some Others Who Have Him? Was that her dad as well?
Frank Spencer.
Frank. Oh no, Frank Spencer. He's the Phantom of the Opera.
That's the character, isn't it?
The character is Frank Spencer. Yeah, I can't remember the actor.
Yeah, and he played the Phantom of the Opera in the West End show.
That's not her dad.
Do you know what I just learned? The kid from E.T. is still acting.
Drew Barrymore.
Elliot.
No, Henry something or other. Elliot.
Yeah, he was a dad in Back to the Future.
No, that's
That's Chris Spindlover.
It's
The first one.
It's time travel. I don't know what's going on.
The guy that plays Elliot, his name is Henry Thomas.
Oh, Henry Thomas.
And I guess that there's this thing where it's like, that was such a huge movie, but like, he's literally not stopped acting
Go away.
since E.T. Okay, I'll go away. Like, it's not good. There's not necessarily great stuff in there, but the guy has just kept fucking working.
That's good, I guess.
Dozen episodes of Stargirl.
Oof, Stargirl, I watched that.
It's weird. It's
The
weird to
Haunting of
think
Bly Manor.
that Luke Evans was in that, and Owen Wilson's in Loki. It's weird to think that Luke Evans is in Stargirl and Wilson, the other Wilson, is in Loki. And like one got.
Do you mean Luke Wilson?
Yeah, Luke Wilson is in Stargirl, and Owen.
You said
is
Luke Evans.
Yeah,
Oh, did I say Evans?
he did say Luke Evans.
Yeah,
It could
twice.
be,
Sorry.
yeah.
And I was
My
like,
bad.
take his name out of your mouth, you filthy dirtbird. He's mine.
Wilson. is in
Yes.
Stargirl. Nobody
Yeah,
talked about
Kevin,
it.
do you ever
Viola Wilson is.
do you
in-
ever worry about how tight you pull your hair back
Why?
for that front hairline bit?
Nah. I can just if I'm concerned about it, I'll just push the longer hair, the back over my head, so it gives me a fringe.
Okay.
I never have my hair down.
Sorry, Brian. I derailed your Wilson.
Now I'm
treatise.
worried about it.
It's
Why?
my own paranoia about myself and like follicular tension.
But
Because you put the follicles under tension
girls,
and you
but it
damage.
doesn't happen to girls' hair.
They don't have as much testosterone weakening the follicles.
I don't have that much testosterone, pal.
Yeah,
I'm a vegan.
nothing about your face says riddled with testosterone.
I'm a vegan. I don't have much testosterone. That's why I'm a sensei.
That's not how that works.
I think that's how that works, Brian.
Not how that works.
I got some.
Is your
Oh,
fourth
that-
finger longer than your second digit? Quick check.
You have 4
As
fingers.
he adjusts the braided hair on his back.
Is your fourth digit longer than your second digit? Check it out quick.
Which is the fourth digit?
Thumb is number 1. Index is 2.
Okay.
So is your fourth longer than your index?
What does that mean?
It means you were exposed to more testosterone like in the womb. It's a
What about
proven
me,
thing.
Ryan?
It's true.
What about me?
No, it isn't.
But from the back it might turn it around because the thing is, see from the back it looks longer, which is
Oh.
weird. It's very weird, isn't it?
What's going on?
From the back,
From
it
the
looks
back.
longer. The Brian O'Sullivan story.
That's I think that's something a woman
It's
never
very
wants to hear. So Brian, what's going on? Have I got? What's going on? Everything looks the same length. My fingers are the exact same length across.
Your fourth looks a bit longer to me. So yeah,
What does that mean?
it means you were exposed to more testosterone in the womb, basically.
Oh yeah,
I
it's
think
a
it might-
fraction longer.
But that's a proven thing. So like there's a lot of stuff about like what this means and that means, but it's the 2D 4D ratio and it's a real thing. Second digit, 4-digit ratio.
I don't think my hair.
So Luke Wilson is in Stargirl and Old Wilson is in Loki, and nobody talks about it. Are we paralleling their careers? Like DC is poor old DC.
No, not poor old DC, because I don't know if I've said it before, and I keep on meaning to say it because I check out different news pages for just comic book or superhero kind of newsy stuff, right? My God, the CW stuff is. There's a lot of people involved and they're all working, and it's great that they have jobs. Steve Amell said hi to me once, but the shows are trash.
I've liked a lot of those shows. They do a thing.
Everybody did, I think, for the first like 4 or 5 episodes, maybe the first season, and then just it's trash.
No, I mean, I think.
Yeah, and my daddy says it's trash. My daddy doesn't like it.
Well, they're shows for kids and teenagers, I guess. Like I always compare it to the shit I had. Like I loved Smallville. I chose to love Smallville, regardless of how bad it was. And I
That's
do the
been
same with
released on-
these subsequent CW shows.
That's been released on Blu-ray now, which I
Those
thought was odd.
Fridays are a dark part of my youth.
What do you mean? I just finished school,
Yeah.
ate a pizza in the dark, watching Smallville, and went to sleep
Friday.
for the weekend and went back to school.
School's over. I'm a teenager. I can go nowhere and do nothing. There's a TV show about Superman. I'll watch that. Maybe it'll be good. It's not good. I watch
God,
it
you
every
lived in.
week.
You
was
lived in.
grim. It was so grim.
What age were you at this time?
16.
You lived in.
I would rent a
far more built-up
VHS
areas, both of you, than I did.
and watch Smallville on a Friday
Exactly,
night.
Aiden. Exactly.
And I had an active social life. Now there is a few lambs going around that look a bit funny, but
It's why I called it a dark part of my life.
Just because we lived in built-up areas didn't mean we had friends.
Fair.
Every
Yeah. Well,
Friday.
no judgment, because you're one of my favorite.
I don't call it a dark part of my life. I loved it.
There was a bit of judgment there. There was loaded.
Well,
with
confusion, because I lived quite
What the
rural.
fuck were you doing at 15?
Me?
riding
yeah,
sheep
Fucking
out in the country.
A24's Lamb coming
Yeah.
soon
Based about,
from Numi Rapace.
I meant
and,
riding cheap, like
who's playing you,
a
Kevin?
horse.
Colin Farrell, most likely.
It's going to be Jared Leto on a prosthetic. And we don't know it.
Yeah. I haven't got enough eyebrows for that prosthetic. What was I doing at 15? Not a lot, like, but, you know, at least if I was staying indoors watching Smallville, it was probably by choice, and I enjoyed it. But, yeah.
I wanted Smallville to be good so bad, and it wasn't.
It had problematic people in it who are in cults.
That story is bonkers.
It's a crazy story.
That's why I'm saying I was surprised that DC released it on like Blu-ray or something recently, because it's just like, do people want to watch that anymore? Not. You know what? Actually,
Well,
no, I don't want to watch it anymore.
That's exactly why they want to watch it, because like, can you believe every scene you're just going to be watching it going, she indoctrinated people into a sex cult. Can you believe that?
I really liked Alison Mack in that show.
But sex cult sounds. No, sex cult sounds like oh wow. But it was sex trafficking cult.
They literally branded people,
it was
didn't they?
trafficking. Yeah.
It was trafficking. It wasn't a sex cult in the sexy way Charles Manson tried to sell it.
Look,
It
you can have a good sex cult and a bad sex cult. This was one of the bad ones.
Brian is not
What's
a cult.
an example of a good one?
I'm not a cult.
Brian's definitely not a cult. What's an example of a good sex cult?
I mean, I'm not saying there are. I'm saying you could have a church or a belief built around sex, and it could be a positive thing. Is what I'm saying. You could have a cult based around sex being a positive, transformational.
Never noticed all the pineapples
I'm a
in
Catholic.
Brian's room.
It's weird how pineapples makes dogs' poo taste awful, but does the opposite to humans.
What?
What? I mean,
I think you may.
what?
I think he left a word out there. I think what he meant to say was, it's bad for dogs'
How much
digestion.
dog poo did you have to taste to work out it was the pineapple that was causing?
I think what he meant to say is it's bad for dogs' digestion, but it makes human fluids taste better, allegedly.
No, pineapples makes dogs' feces taste bad to dogs. So if your dog's eating its own shit, feed it some pineapples and it will stop eating
But
its shit.
pineapples are bad for their stomach, so don't give your dog pineapple.
It has an
will shit
opposite
all
effect
over
on
the place.
humans.
Marla had a pineapple once, and she had an explosive. Not a cult. I know what you're saying.
So Luke Wilson is in Stargirl. I didn't really get much past the first episode with Joel McHale as Starman.
It's
Luke Wilson as like, what was he? It was like Skippy the sidekick or something. Is Luke Wilson? I like. Let me just bring it back for just a moment. I've really liked those DC shows. I think the producer that's managed to get Arrow, Flash, Black Lightning, Lucifer. I think he's behind Titans as well.
Greg Berlanti, isn't it? Or
Berlanti, yeah.
But is Titans in the same? It is. Yeah.
The Archie stuff is him as well. Like he has. His production company has successfully transferred he had like 8 shows on the air at the same time. Supergirl is him, and the stuff that they've done in those shows has been like, I would be watching Smallville hoping to God they'd do something comic booky that I kind of recognized, and like he's had, you know, he has touched on so damn much in the shows that he's run where you're just like, holy crap, and he's doing it from the right place in terms of the ethos of the characters and the comic books. It's fun and it's entertaining.
I think he's also doing it from a place where I can make a soap opera and pretend it's a comic book show, and I'll get lots of people to watch it.
Sure, absolutely. Like,
And that's
and
not
I
a good
don't,
thing.
I don't hate him for that. Well, nah, it's
That's
like comic books are
yeah,
very
I was gonna say
soap
that's
opera.
pretty much
you know,
that's pretty much what set,
serialized.
but that's what set Marvel aside from DC back in the golden age. They started implementing all these kind of like drama elements to the story.
Oh no,
soap opera
I mean,
stuff.
I mean soap opera in terms of like production values,
Production
and
quality.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's done.
The amount, I think somebody put together like a compilation
No.
of scenes from Arrow. I have people just asking people walking into a room, asking them like something like, "Are they okay?" And it's funny to watch. It's low production value soap dressed up with superhero stuff to get people to watch it. And I don't have a problem with the melodrama and stuff like that, because like you said, that's what sells comics. That it's not the melodrama, it's the fact that it's I can't think of a good example of a bad kind of just drama show, but it's just
Days of Our Lives.
it's essentially Days of Our Lives with
The
kinda
Young and the
leather
Restless,
costumes,
wasn't that one?
There's a lot of like Oliver Queen's girlfriend was dead, alive, in a coma, her brain transplanted to a different body. Like there was so much of that shit, but like it's been the better part of a decade of these shows now, and
I think it's the cost.
fucking fair dues to what he's accomplished in terms of getting comic books on television.
I mean, I think if people like
When
them
you
and
look
stuff,
at what
it's like
the cinematic universe has done at the same time,
I don't
you know?
think they're.
Like,
I don't think it's really comic books on television. Comic books like Smallville was the same thing. Like they haven't exactly done. He's not doing a whole lot more than Smallville did, you know. The thing is that
I mean, I think he is. By the time they're doing Crisis on Infinite Earths and Brainiac and Martian
are they
Manhunter
really
and-
doing versions of those characters though, or
Yeah.
I know, but what I mean is like they're not doing justice to those storylines or characters. Just because
They're
they've introduced them on the show doesn't mean like this is a good, reliable place to look at if you're into that character.
I don't entirely think that's fair, and I think that I do really feel like these shows come from a place of love from Berlanti, that like he wants to get these things he likes on screen, and he
He wants to get them on
if
screen
you're
because
a-
it, like
if you're a 15-year-old with nowhere to go on a Friday night, I mean,
hated it.
I'll
It was
go and read a
dark
comic book.
time. And like it's not about he's got this and that. Like he's growing a TV empire, so of course he's going to put like the more content and stuff. Like he's getting paid. He's not doing it like out of the love of the characters. It's
I disagree.
he's the male comics version of Shonda Rhimes. Just because he's putting like he's found something that people want. He's found
But does that necessarily mean he doesn't love the characters or love comic
I'm saying
books
just
or
because
whatever,
he's
you know?
just
Like,
because he's
just
just because
got
he's
lucky.
churning stuff out
Yeah.
isn't I wouldn't give somebody credit just for churning stuff out with low effort and low return and low entertainment value.
I don't look. Yeah, we're not going to agree on this because
We're
I
not,
don't think
because
that's where
they're
it's at.
bad.
I think he's TV Kevin Feige. I think he's done a
God,
great
no.
job.
No,
I think he's done a great job. He has a
No.
very limited.
no.
He has a very
No.
limited
Just because
purview
you're
for what he can do
just
on a
because you're
CW
prolific,
production.
You can't compare it. No, no.
I
No,
think that's
it's
fair.
not
Like he's
fair.
doing a great job.
How is he doing a great job? The shows are bad.
He has a window of shit television to make, and he makes the best of it, and it's successful, and people like it. Like
It's
every
successful
fucking
for
genre show that
it's
you see on
successful
television.
for where it is. It's success.
It beats the freaking Vampire Diaries, you know.
It's successful for where it is.
Sure,
yeah. But I mean that
within the world that he was within the job.
I'm
he was
not. I'm
asked
not
to
saying
do,
he. I'm
within
not
the
saying.
budget that he's
I'm
been
not
allowed.
saying he's not successful. I'm not saying that they haven't been successful ventures. I'm saying the shows are bad. They are bad.
I'm going to disagree.
He's found a little space where he can make this stuff over in the corner, and he's allowed to make it because they need content, and he's worked out a formula where I can cast attractive people and I can put in storylines with love triangles and whatever, and that doesn't make it a good adaptation of the source material. Just because it's successful doesn't make it a good adaptation. They've got a platform, they've got a channel, they need content. There's enough market share of people watching it to go, yeah, this is successful, people will watch it, so we'll keep making it. Go ahead, go do it. Yeah, he's successful at churning that stuff out. That doesn't equate to good content.
DC have a better track history.
Volume and market share of a small audience doesn't equate to making good content.
I think it's a case of like, we've seen in the Marvel world, we've seen the sort of the Netflix scope of stuff. We've seen the is it ABC or CBS? What was the place where S.H.I.E.L.D. was?
ABC.
We've seen what Disney Plus version of it looks like. This is the CW version of superhero content. This is the Smallville end of stuff. And this is Mutant fucking X. Good. It's a, like, you go, I can buy my Marvel content in Forbidden Planet, I can buy it on Amazon, I can buy it in Arnott's, I can buy it in
or
Penny's
Subsidy, go to
t-shirts
Subsidy.
Or clothes or trousers. I can buy Marvel clothes in every fucking tier of merchandising outlet. I can consume comic book content at every tier of television content now as well, from the super high end to the schlocky serialized soap opera stuff. I think he's approached this with the best spirit that he could, with characters that have never had a chance.
I'm not disagreeing with any of that. I'm
seen.
Saying the end result
and I think he's done a good job in the world that he lives.
The end result isn't good.
I don't want to fucking give it an Oscar, but I'll watch it on a Friday evening eating a pizza.
You should expect more from life.
What about life has taught you that we can expect anything beyond being inside when it's raining?
You could watch something better. You can choose to watch something better. There's so much better things to consume.
If you guys are looking for something to watch, I recommend 8 seasons of Arrow, about 7 seasons of The Flash, about 5 seasons of Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl, Black Lightning,
Don't do it.
Batgirl,
Riverdale.
Riverdale is bad.
Riverdale's amazing.
Stargirl, Doom Patrol.
Doom Patrol. People love Doom Patrol. 3 seasons of Titans. Berlanti's killing it.
They're all bad.
Nobody.
They're all bad.
Doom Patrol is responsible for the Brendan Fraser Renaissance.
Imager is actually responsible. Imager is actually responsible.
There's a Renaissance.
Yeah,
sure.
For Renaissance.
He's in No Sudden Moves from Steven Soderbergh now. He's on the way up.
Brian,
he's coming back.
Brian's left. Took a chat.
You just listed a tirade of bad,
very entertaining shows. Good.
I tried with these shows. I was at home, working from home a lot. I needed like a constant stream of background noise. I downloaded this stuff regularly to watch.
And
it's
it was
bad.
great. John Barrowman is in like 4 seasons
bad.
of Arrow. He's great.
Yeah,
bad.
He's problematic.
They did Ra's al Ghul in that show.
So what?
It was great
wasn't.
fun. It's sounding more and more like I'm taking the piss, but the more I remember about this show, the more I like it. So you watched Inuyasha?
I watched Inuyasha.
Inuyasha.
Yes.
Okay. Inuyasha's new on Netflix this week?
New on Netflix this week by the looks of it, yeah. It's based on...
Okay, tell me about it. I didn't get a chance to watch it.
It's based on a comic by Rumiko Takahashi. She's a very prolific manga writer, artist. She's written some amazing stuff. It's an adaptation of that. And yeah, I was looking the show up because it looks... Netflix was saying it's from, I think, the year 2000. It looked a bit older to me, so I was looking it up. I was like, is that production date wrong? But apparently it is from 2000, even though I thought it looked older. But while looking that up, apparently...
We forget how long 4.3 persisted.
No, that as in... like
16.9 didn't...
It even looks older just stylistically. I would have placed it kind of mid to later 90s. So I guess 2000 is right on the cusp of that. But yeah. So I looked it up just to kind of check. And apparently Inuyasha was on RTE2, which it definitely wasn't. One, I would have seen it, and two, there's a lot of stuff in there that they would never show on RTE2.
So what's Inuyasha?
Inuyasha is about a girl in modern day Japan who falls down a well and ends up in kind of feudal era Japan. And she looks very much like this other character who, Inuyasha, who's the kind of title character. He's a half demon, half human hybrid. He's got dog ears and claws. And the show opens with him back in feudal Japan being killed by this woman, and he's surprised to be killed by her because he thought they were friends for some reason, but he has a reputation as being a kind of a half demon, has a reputation as a troublemaker. So he's trying to steal a thing, she kills him, and she's been kind of fatally wounded by him, and they both die. And many years later, this girl falls down a well, ends up back in feudal Japan, and it's now 50 years after this event that it opens with. And the schoolgirl in modern day Japan is kind of like, I guess, reincarnation of the lady at the start. And it turns out Inuyasha's not dead. He's just kind of pinned to a tree by an arrow. So they go on adventures from there, basically.
Is there an overall quest and goal, or is it just adventures in that era?
So the show opens with it drops you right in the middle of it. It opens with Inuyasha attacking the village, and he steals this kind of jewel. It's kind of this kind of pearl looking thing, and apparently he's stolen it to try to become fully demon. So he's attacked this village, he's got the jewel, he's running away, and I can't remember the character's name. I think it's Kikoye, I think. She shows up wounded, she's got a bow and arrow, and she shoots him with an arrow and pins him to a tree, and they both die. And as she's dying, she tells her younger sister, nobody can get this jewel, you gotta burn it with my body. So they do, and that's the end of that. And it cuts a couple of 100 years ahead to modern day Japan, and the girl has family. The family's kind of, I think the family is on the same site as the village was, or something like that. The family's kind of got kind of spiritual, religious connections to, I think it would be Shinto, I'd imagine, religion. So I think her grandfather is like a Shinto priest, maybe. So anyway, she falls down this well, and she ends up back in feudal Japan. And essentially, the jewel is inside the girl. So when the village ends up being attacked by this giant centipede monster, she's able to use the jewel to kill the centipede monster. But it also brings Inuyasha back to life 50 years later. So the girl's little sister, who was there at the time, recognized her, saying, "Hey, you were my sister, you died many years ago." And what ends up happening is Inuyasha is very much kind of like a villain, but the main character, who is Kagome, I think, can control him. She can basically tell him to sit like a dog, and he has to obey her because of magic. They end up destroying the jewel accidentally, and it shatters into many, many pieces, and it's spread around Japan. So the show...
Is it because she has the jewel that she can tell him what to do?
Partially, yeah. It also has to do...
I'm just trying to remember if that's the plot of Psycho Gorman.
It also has to do with like kind of a talisman stuff that they place on him. But essentially, he comes back and he's like, "Hey, it's you," and she's like, "It's not me. I'm a different person." Whatever. But essentially, they destroy the jewel and they have to go around the country trying to find the pieces of the jewel. But then also, it's a sort of a enemies to lovers type plotline. So that's that.
Okay.
But it definitely was not on RTE. It was not. There was no way. I would have seen it, and there's no way they showed it.
It's funny as well that, like, with the limited television that was available in like the year 2000, that like showing something like that would have deeply affected the children of Ireland.
I would have much preferred to watch that instead of Smallville.
Okay, well, so you recommend checking it out?
If you like anime. If you don't like anime, you're probably not gonna like it. So.
Is it one series or 2 seasons, or what are people getting into?
There's only one on Netflix at the moment, but I think there was at least 5, possibly 8 seasons of it. It ran for a while. The
Holy shit.
comic only finished up like, I think maybe 10 or 20 years ago, but the comic ran for a long time as well. Strange. People draw manga for life.
One Piece is
One Piece is ongoing. Yeah. The original comic run, I just looked it up, of Inuyasha was from 1996 to 2008.
check out Inuyasha if you like anime. There's one season up there. I suppose it's a good way to dip your toe in the water, that show, you know. If you like it, check out the one season. And
I was just gonna say on the subject of the Den and RTE and stuff, apparently they were kind of known for getting, oh, what's the word? Can't think of the word. Basically acquiring the rights to these like really obscure random cartoons from all over Europe and Japan and all that kind of stuff, showing cartoons that like people just weren't interested in, and then some of them even took off to bigger things, you know. But like I think the Den was one of the, like, was kind of like on the forefront of the Pokemon popularity and all that kind of stuff. Like they were one of the first children's stations to be shown it, you know.
Well, I think, well, yeah, I mean, I do think of Pokemon as being very, very mainstream once that got going. Like, it was on Sky One for fucking ever.
It was on.
Do you think of the Den as being ahead of its time?
Apparently it was when it came to some shows, yeah.
Content-wise?
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
I mean, I do remember for a while, TG Car was the only place you'd see, like, HBO shows, and it was like, that's weird. Like,
I know, the Oz.
The Wire was showing on, and Oz, and Carnival. And
that's what I was watching when I was 15.
Carnival?
No, Oz. Adebisi.
I don't know what that means.
Adebisi was one of the characters in it. He played Mr. Smoke or something on Lost, I think it was. Brian would know.
No.
Mr. Echo?
Mr. Echo.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, there was a smoke thing in Lost. I got confused.
Yeah, there was a smoke monster.
And he was killed by it.
There you go.
He was a cool character.
He was a great character.
Yeah, and he was great. He's a great actor in Oz, and he was in Oz for a good bit before that as well. Like,
and he was wasted
funny.
in Suicide Squad.
Who was he in Suicide Squad?
Exactly.
Killer Croc, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Was he Killer Croc? Yeah, that's no good.
Suicide Squad, apparently best comic book movie of all time.
That movie came out
yesterday.
Next Friday.
I thought it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, it's out yesterday, but like I'm not going to a cinema. I'm going to be trying to stream the thing. And HBO Max gets it the 6th, I think. Are you thinking of going to the cinema? Going to the pictures?
Not for this. I'm not a fan. No, I'm not a fan. I mean, I will if you tell me to. I will for the podcast, absolutely.
I'm going to go, Brian. You should go.
I will go then.
If you can pay for something else and sneak into it. Don't support Gunn.
That's true.
I'm not saying don't support Gunn. I like James Gunn's movies. I enjoy these films, and look forward to working with you in the future, Jimmy. You said you were listening to Stan Lee's autobiography. What is that? Where'd you get that? How are you finding it?
Yeah, very.
Is it an autobiography or is it a ghost-written biography?
It's not necessarily ghost-written, but it is written. It's actually interesting enough because it's written by Danny Fingeroth. He's the creator of Darkhawk in the early 90s, which was like a Marvel comic book in the 90s. He created that, and I was listening to a podcast about Darkhawk recently, and they got him on and talking about it, and then he just happened to mention how he wrote this Stan Lee book, you know, and
what's the book called?
It is called A Marvelous Life. Amazing Story of Stan Lee. Unabridged audio by the author. So the audiobook is actually read by Danny. It's good, like, kind of, I've been listening for ages and I still have like 6 hours left. I think it's like 15 hours long or something. But it's pretty interesting stuff. I don't think it's one-sided. I think like he says stuff that kind of like, you know, kind of goes against Stan as much as like in favor of Stan, you know what I mean? I think a lot of it isn't anything that most kind of serious comic book fans haven't heard before, aren't aware of, you know. It kind of goes into the comic book code, all that dilemma, timely losing artists, just using freelance, the Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko
I think there's a lot of that people don't know.
Well, a lot of
they just think of Stan Lee as the guy who created all the Marvel characters and cameos in the movie.
Yeah, but that's like people who just watched, like, not like, as in, like, you can be an absolute comic book fan, no problem, and you can just consume the movies and the TV shows. That's okay. But I'm talking about, like, say the likes of us three, who have probably read comic books as far back as we remember, you know. Like, I, you know, even my brothers, like, they appreciate that kind of stuff, like, but I could say, like, a lot of these things to them and they wouldn't know, you know what I mean? Like, but they're big comic book, they're big, they love the TV shows, the cartoons, the movies and all that kind of stuff, and they like to consume that kind of media. But this kind of, yeah, I'm talking about, like, the, like, you know, some of the stuff that the book covers, obviously, like, we know it because we're, like, hardcore.
So what's a piece of Stan trivia that you got from the book that you think people don't know? Like, even if you know, what's a piece that you think people don't know about Stan's life?
He doesn't remember the girl's name he lost his virginity to.
I didn't know that.
You asked him something I would know that other people generally don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, not just something I didn't know at all. What would I know? Like, you know, okay, so, like, you know, obviously
he doesn't remember the name of the girl he lost his virginity to.
Yeah.
Is that just Alzheimer's or like?
I think Stanley either likes to think of himself as some sort of ladies' man. He was definitely, I think, very enamored by women, but yeah, I don't know if it's Alzheimer's or he's just shit talking. Stanley's a bit of a talker, you know. He's a bit of a talker.
That'd be putting it lightly.
I don't even remember who I lost.
Yeah. I like Stanley. I find him incredibly charismatic and stuff, and he's enjoyable to watch. But he's, you know, like, kind of. They were talking about Silver Surfer, right? And Silver Surfer is credited as one of Jack Kirby's creations, like, very much so, you know. But, like, right. And apparently, and Galactus was Stan Lee's, I think, creation, you know. And Jack Kirby had written in and drew this Silver Surfer character into the story, and he was just like, someone like Galactus, being this all-powerful all thing, like, wouldn't do the kind of grunt work himself. He'd have a herald, he'd have someone doing it for him, you know. And Stan Lee thought this was, like, a stupid thing. He thought, like, look at this guy, he looks like a Oscar statue, you know, all this kind of stuff. And but kind of ran with it or something, because Jack was kind of enthusiastic about it. But then he became one of Stan Lee's, like, favorite characters to write, you know. And I think Stan Lee ended up like kind of Romita did it, or Kirby didn't know about it, but they were going to do this solo run of Silver Surfer, you know, and they got John Romita to do the artwork. I think it was John Romita. No, John Buscemi. Well, no, what's his name? There's a John Buscemi artist, right?
There's a Buscema.
Buscema. Sorry, yeah, I knew I was saying it wrong. John Buscema. I think they got John Buscema to draw that book, and Kirby didn't know, and I think Kirby was shocked. Even though, like, kind of Stan could have very well said to Kirby, "Hey, I want to do, like, I'm thinking of doing, like, a solo Silver Surfer story," and Kirby probably just didn't give him any reaction whatsoever. So Stan was just like, well, he's not interested, because as much as there is the whole debate between who created what, and, you know, how much of their input was, you know, a part of the success of these characters and stuff, you know, Kirby wasn't an easy guy to work with. There's reasons why he kind of had burned a lot of bridges in his career and stuff. I like Kirby, and I do think he's, like, a underappreciated or under recognized for sure. But I think it was a case of, like, you know, would have Spider-Man been as successful without was it Ditko who did Spider-Man? Probably not. But that's not saying it wouldn't have been. Like, Stan at the end of the day is the ideas man, but it's like, kind of, these guys were able to get his great ideas and bring them even to a higher level.
He didn't draw them himself.
Pardon?
He didn't draw them himself, basically. It's no good being in his head and writing them without those collaborators.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's a collaboration thing.
Yeah.
I grew up loving. I grew up familiar with Stanley. Let's put it that way. And you do have this thing in your head of his being the guy who created everything, and
he was a great self-promoter,
especially when you're reading a book.
Yeah, that's right. But
yeah, a great self-promoter, and you are reading a book about Stan Lee, or like, I haven't heard before, and that this could just be my lack of exposure to it. I've never heard people go, Jack Kirby was hard to work with.
But I don't think
that sounds like a piece of information that comes out of a Stan Lee book.
I think Jack Kirby. Yeah, I don't think it was the easiest person to work with. And don't get me wrong.
If you're Stan Lee who wants to take credit for everything, and if you're Jack Kirby inventing the Silver Surfer and the aesthetic and the reason people like it,
here look, but like the thing is, it's like I kind of, when I listen to the book, it's just I'm kind of rooting for the underdog, which is like kind of Kirby and stuff, you know. But and I do think like I just think it was like it was a partnership, you know, and I think Stan Lee did rob those guys of that to a degree, you know. But at the end of the day, like he was the ideas man, and there was plenty of characters that Stan Lee created with people that never took off, and those people aren't fighting for, you know, co-creator titles of those things. But I do think
they probably are.
But I do think like Stan Lee, like he does say like, oh, Silver Surfer is one of my favorite characters to write and blah blah. And it's like, you know, I would have thought for years Stan Lee created Silver Surfer where Kirby did. You know, I know Kirby created Silver Surfer, but I'm just saying for years I would have thought it was a Stan Lee creation, because the dialogue was super Stan Lee.
I think Stan. Well, of course, like, you know yourself, the Marvel production method in that era was Stan sends out a 1-page, like, this is what I want to happen in this book.
Yeah.
Kirby goes and draws it, and then Stan, of course, the dialogue's super Stan Lee, because Stan looks at finished pages
and does the dialogue,
just shoehorns in budgets of text.
Yeah, I know. Well, like, and I know those guys created so much. Like, Ditko would have created so much of the Spider-Man lore. You know, Stan Lee gets a lot of credit for
they were
it,
literally, like, Marvel were literally paying artists, like, their contracts were their paychecks with a disclaimer on the back or a release on the back that goes, cashing this check is an affirmation that Marvel now owns everything you just did, you know? Like, that was the extent of the contract for a long, long time. So when you say Stan was the ideas man, like, I sit very, like, annoyingly on the fence where I'm like, these artists did know what they were getting involved with, even if they felt it was shitty, but they like signed on for work for hire stuff that signed away all their rights to their shit.
They were still exploited.
Yeah, no one thought,
but at the same time,
no one
Stan
thought comics
can't
were going to take off like this, you know.
Yeah, but Stan was the guy who was under contract from the publisher house that could say, "This is my work. This is my work. This is my work." You know.
Yeah, and still, Stan was his wasn't it his uncle or something, Owen Time Lee. But what I was going to say though is like kind of like, you know, even listening to this book and stuff.
I didn't know that. Did Stan's uncle own Timely Comics?
Yeah, what was his name? Something Goodman. Yeah, Stan Lee basically couldn't get fired. You know, he was like, he just came out. I don't think he went to college. Maybe he went to some college because I think he fancied a girl, but then he dropped out. But he got a job in this thing, and he's writing like just kind of like books and stories and all of this. But like he'd release these books and stuff, like these kind of like caption comedy books where it'd be like a photograph of JFK standing at the podium with all the presidential stuff around him. He's like, "Allow me to introduce myself," and it's just like everybody, but it's just kind of like, it's that kind of crappy comedy, you know, that he was famous for. But and he would have published loads of books like that, you know, and kind of done all that stuff for years. And but the thing is, basically went through all the ups and downs of Timely and Atlas and what eventually would be Marvel. Stan Lee never lost his job, but loads of people did, because he couldn't. His uncle owned it, you know. His parents were poor, and his uncle and auntie used to pay for, like, I think they paid for minor sinus surgery in like the 30s, and they got him a red bicycle in the 40s, or not the 40s because he was probably an adult at that stage, but you know what I mean, like. But it's just, I'm going to read the Jack Kirby book. There is a Jack Kirby book, and I'm dying to read it now after this, to be fair, because I'd love to see the two sides of it. But at the end of the day, I can just be like, I love Stan for his ideas.
Yeah,
Kirby will always be like the guy who, like, I think, like, without Kirby's influence on the industry, artists wouldn't be able to kind of do the stuff they do now. Look at, like, kind of, say, you know, Mignola even, like, massive influence from Kirby, you know, and he pushed it. Like, he essentially got fired from DC for sloppy bad drawing, where he was just like, no, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to take my art. You know, he was an artist. He was an artist, expressed himself. Stan Lee was
like,
trying to remain relevant.
Stan did it, like, I'm hesitant to start fucking like preaching, because like I don't know enough at the same time, you know. I got a half thing, but like my impression of Stan is that, you know, he did a huge amount for the comic books industry and he chose the right people to work with, but he was also in the position to make his name the one up fucking front and center. And you know, there's people that didn't quite get as much credit as they should have.
Yeah,
he moved out to LA in the 70s and started, like, he got out of the comics and started trying to flog the concept of Marvel to TV production, and that's the slow road to where we are today with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So he did amazing things, but like the comics industry has been fucking nightmare for long. Like I remember Neil Adams, I think it's Neil Adams, did a huge amount in terms of like unionizing, representing artists' rights end of things. Like he said he worked in the DC offices at one point and he spotted an intern just with a guillotine shredding comic book pages out of a cupboard, and he had to go over and go, what are you doing? It's like, oh well, we're not mailing these back to the artists and we need to clear the cupboard space. And he stopped that and went to the, again, now this is Neil Adams, I think it's Neil Adams telling this story, forgive me if I'm misattributing this, but I can think it's Neil Adams telling this story. So again, grain of salt, he's a very good self-promoter as well, but he said he went to management and went, you paid for the license to print this image, you didn't pay for ownership of the physical artwork. So if you're going to shred that stuff, you need to pay out every artist whose art you are now shredding. And when they looked retroactively at the amount of money they'd have to pay each and every artist, they started returning the original art. And that's because comic book artists, you know, might get $100 a page these days, and probably in the fucking 80s as well. Like, it doesn't feel like that page rate has gone up. It's one of these things that's stagnated forever. But comic book artists will supplement their income by selling original artwork. And for a long time, once that artwork went into a DC office, it just ended up in landfill.
It's awful.
You know?
But it's interesting anyways. I
kind of derailed you, but
no, I'm saying that is interesting. But then I was watching, because I listened to the book, whatever. I was watching Robert Kirkman's Secret History, and that kind of goes into stuff deeper and stuff. And like, you know, like Stan Lee, incredibly charismatic, but like my heart goes out to Kirby and Ditko, you know, really does. Like it's kind of like, it's like kind of, I know it sounds awful, but like it was just Stan Lee's personality to kind of, you know, to want to be there. I don't think necessarily the guys wanted to be there, but they wanted credit and they should have gotten it, you know. But it's funny because you watch like Todd McFarlane. Todd McFarlane is another comic book creator who even people who aren't kind of like, say, big into comic books and the industry and stuff could potentially recognize him, you know. And like it always struck me as like Todd, I think he resented Stan, but he wanted to be the next Stan Lee, you know. But he was just like, anytime I see Tom on in an interview or on TV or on YouTube, Todd. Anytime I see Todd in an interview on TV, whatever, he's just selling something. Like, it's like Stan would dress it up in a story and with charisma and stuff. Todd just like, the guy just sells it, and it's a character.
I did an ad for Levi's jeans or something at one point, didn't he?
He could have, but like, it's just like, I just feel like it's kind of like what they call it, like a car salesman, you know. It's like he's just always pitching something, always selling something, and he doesn't have the same kind of gravitas or whatever it is that Stan Lee has. I'm not saying Stan Lee's perfect by any means. I love Stan Lee. I'm always going to be like, kind of, you know, I'm always going to appreciate his input in the industry, however, whatever way that is, you know. But I'm always, I'm sorry, being an artist myself and you guys being artists, it's just like, we know how much work goes into fucking drawing. The amount of work that puts into doing like a comic book, sequential art, all that kind of stuff, it's a lot, you know. And these guys are doing it when people really resented books and really resented comics and thought they were stupid, but they were pouring their heart and souls into it. Like, you know, those guys did so much for the people reading, the people, because like we buy books based on the art, you know what I mean, like, essentially, you know. So yeah, I think like it's sad, but like it's a fascinating story. I do recommend listening to or getting the book or listening to the audiobook if you want.
What's the name of the book again?
Marvelous Life, Stan Lee's Story by Danny Fingeroth. Yeah, it's just interesting. I do recommend watching the Robert Kirkman's Secret History comics. Very good.
Where did you watch that?
It was on Sky, but I think it was on Amazon for a while or something. There's like 6 or 7 different episodes
of the Secret History comics. I think I saw it on like Sky Arts or something.
Yeah, it could have been that. Yeah,
but I don't know where you'd get it at this point. You know,
I have this Sky box thing.
So that is Stanley: A Marvelous Life and Robert Kirkman's Secret Life of Comics. Let's move on to Ladyhawke. I watched Ladyhawke. Which is I suggested this last week because it's a Richard Donner film, and I grew up watching Richard Donner movies. He's one of the first directors alongside sort of Steven Spielberg that I identified as, you know, a director.
What other movies has he done?
Lethal Weapon,
Superman, Lethal Weapon, Scrooged, Maverick, Assassins, Conspiracy Theory. Towards the end of the run, 16 Blocks with Bruce Willis in sort of 2006. With Mos Def in that as well. It's not earth shattering, but like it's a solid film. But you know, I watched the Lethal Weapon movies a bunch growing up, and the superhero or the Superman movies. So like Richard Donner was a name, and I'd never seen Ladyhawke. And he just passed away, so we suggested it last week. And I'm just looking at his IMDb here at the same time, and he seems to follow up. Like, it looks like Superman, Superman 2, and then Ladyhawke. And I went into Ladyhawke thinking it was before Superman, and it was like his first feature, but I got that arseways. Because I was giving it a lot of leeway. I guess it's the first time he's made a movie. But it's like, nope, it's not the first time he's made a movie.
Yeah.
Ladyhawke is a 1985 fantasy movie with Matthew Broderick, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Rutger Hauer. There's probably a bunch of other character actors in there.
Well, Alf Marino, what's his name? We said
Molina. Alfred Molina.
Yeah, he's in it.
Oh, Alfred Molina.
For also all
he
of 2
pops up
seconds.
as well.
But I was going to say, can't remember the Rutger Hauer guy. He's great. He's great in it. Yeah,
Rutger's great.
He's great in everything.
I was watching it going, I haven't seen a huge amount of Rutger Hauer movies. He's in Dark Knight, I think, right? Or Batman Begins.
Mm-hmm.
Batman Begins. He's Ray Batty. What's his name in that? Roy Batty in Bladerunner. I was watching him in this going, is he 1980s Viggo Mortensen?
Or Mads Mikkelsen.
There's definitely a look to him with the sword as well. Like,
Bladerunner, like I've seen Bladerunner a few times. I wouldn't be the biggest fan of it. Not true. Not that it's a bad movie or anything. It's just a taste thing. But I always fucking love that scene where he's just like, I've seen like starships and the belt of Orion and blah blah, like, and it's like all just whatever moments in the race. Like, that has to be one of the best
sea beams over Orion.
Attack ships on the shoulder of Orion. Guys, come on.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake. This is a nerd podcast,
Sorry,
guys. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but I was going to say it's
lost like tears in the wind.
Rain, you motherfucker.
Sorry.
God, I thought you got it up there, Aiden. Fuck's sake.
This is a nerd podcast.
All I was going to say is, it's a great fucking scene. It's probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie and one of my favorite lines, because it's just like, that's just super, I don't know, sincere sci-fi. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just like, you really like, you feel like this guy has just been through the ringer, and he's not just some actor rhyming off nonsense, you know, it's like futuristic nonsense. It's like, this guy has lived it, he's speaking about it, and it's so
that's the thing, though. It is. It's a load of sci-fi nonsense, and he sells it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's exactly what I mean.
Yeah,
I
know.
It's I'm
agreeing with you. It's
I just love it. I love it.
Last day of shooting, and Ridley walks in and goes, I'm going to need you to say this, Rutger.
And you got to mean it. Say it like it makes sense.
Yeah, it's excellent. Love it. Brilliant.
So, Ladyhawke is about a couple played by Rutger Hauer and Michelle Pfeiffer, who have been cursed.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
It's Pfizer. It's actually
Michelle Pfizer.
It's Pfeiffer. Michelle Pfeiffer.
It's
played by
Michelin
Rutger
Pfeiffer.
Hauer and Michelle Pfeiffer. During the day, she is cursed into the form of a hawk. At night, he is cursed into the form of a wolf. Never the two shall meet. They cannot be together. They've been cursed by an angry bishop. As you know yourselves, guys, it's not where you want to be. Matthew Broderick plays Philippe Gaston, the mouse, a pickpocket or a thief who stumbles into their story and helps them on their journey to break the curse. It's way too long, guys. Have you seen... Did you watch it this week, Brian?
Yep.
Did you enjoy it?
It's flawed, but I just like the idea. I like Michelle Pfeiffer. I like Rutger.
She's not in it enough.
She's not in enough, but
she's in it for like 5 minutes total screen time.
I was thinking the same thing. She's really not in it enough.
But she looks great.
I don't know if that hairdo is working for her.
It's definitely working for her. No, I just like I said, I think I said it last week. I saw it by chance on TV years ago, and I was just, I only ever saw kind of medieval fantasy in cartoons and things like that. So that there was a medieval fantasy in a film that I could watch that was, age appropriate for me to watch. I just loved it. Yeah, it's flawed. It I think the plot synopsis sounds a lot more interesting than the film actually is, but I still like it. It's an oddity. It's a strange kind of...
It's 2 hours long. It needs to be 90 minutes. I was watching it thinking The Princess Bride came out 2 years later, and they kind of used the Peter Falk stuff to like pretend it's a book and skip through a lot of like historical fantasy nonsense. And like there's gorgeous landscape photography in this. There's old-timey or stuff that isn't in fashion so much anymore, which is the sort of like the polarized lenses where it sort of changes color towards the top of the screen.
Yeah, I like
you
that.
You don't see as much of that in film anymore. It had a lovely look to it. But The Princess Bride had this little mechanism where it's just like, this is the captain of the guard riding to report.
Skip to the end.
What's happened. And we see it. We see 3 shots of him riding across screen, changing horses and riding off at a distance before arriving at a castle and saying, Captain Navarre has returned. And then, edit. The opening scene with like Philippe escaping prison was great.
Mm-hmm. It still looks
great. Do you
great.
not think he was kind of an annoying character though?
He's the mouse.
Did you think he was an annoying character, Kev?
I don't know. I didn't think his...
Elaborate. Expand.
I didn't think his, like... I don't know, like, kind of like... You watch, like, the Ferris Bueller and... Basically, I don't think the role suited him as such, I think he's much better than, like, the Ferris Bueller and other things I've seen him in. I don't think that kind of world suited him. I would have preferred to have seen Warwick Davis, Rutger being played by Val Kilmer, and Michelle Pfeiffer being played by...
Michelle Pfeiffer.
That ginger bird.
Michelle Pfeiffer. Sharon Stone. I always get them confused. Which one was in Quick and the Dead?
Stone.
Who was Catwoman?
Pfeiffer.
God, they're both brilliant.
This isn't hard. Willow was 88, so that's 3 years later again. Willow's a great example of like another medieval fantasy type of thing that just a bit better.
Apparently they want to cut Russell for Rutger's part, and Rutger was going to play the main baddie in Ladyhawke, but he really wanted to do the Navarre Captain Navarre whatever role, and when Russell pulled out last minute, he got it.
Weird. Okay, because that villain wasn't up to much.
No,
there's some nice stuff in that inn where they're chasing Matthew Broderick around the place. Like, I was surprised at Broderick's physicality. I've not seen him do that. Scrambling over tables.
Had you not seen Ferris Bueller and him running through all the back gardens to get home?
Yeah.
I guess I don't think about that much. I've only seen Ferris Bueller once, maybe twice.
What?
I'm not watching that next week.
No.
It is a good film. I've watched it so much. You know what? It's like kind of premise wise, it's cool. Like, like where eagle, where hawk, where eagle, where wolf,
Ladyhawke,
whatever,
man dog,
Ladyhawke, man dog. Yeah, but that stuff was cool. Mouse Man. That stuff was all cool. Could you imagine if this was like a kind of 80s and 90s Disney animated feature? Be fucking badass.
Well, just even because the production method would demand that it be 80 minutes long.
Yeah.
That's including songs as well.
Yeah. Double crossbow. He had that double crossbow. He had that big ass 2-handed claymore thing as well.
I mean, he was
Captain
badass.
Navarre had a lot of MacGuffins. His horse didn't walk like a normal horse. Did you notice that?
The poor horse trotting in at the end. It was so cute looking. Goliath was his horse. Yeah. Why wasn't it a werehorse?
What's the Olympic sport where the horse
should have been his dad or his mom? And dressage.
That honestly, I wasn't looking for this, but I remember like my note here is that is the prancingest pony I've ever seen. And when I was watching the credits, horse trainer Manuela Estrella Bilou, she did a great job. That horse was serving fire.
Yes.
That fight in the church between the two horses when the horse fell over on the dude as well, like they're bashing swords running downstairs on horseback. That was pretty cool.
Do you ever feel sorry for the horse's legs? That was a stone cobble ground, and those horses are just.
It probably wasn't stone.
Sounded like stone, Brian.
No way.
It looked like stone. Sounded like stone. Don't know how you faked that in Hollywood.
But it was Pfeiffer.
Pfeiffer.
Good movie.
Did you enjoy it?
Too long. Yeah, I found it because I watched it. I got up this morning to watch it, and I found it a little bit grueling, and I was kind of skipping like 10 seconds because I just don't need to see the guys trotting across the land. No, the music cues are weird. Music cues were strange.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say I didn't enjoy it. I think it was too long. I think the pieces that I was supposed to find as thrilling or eventful, I didn't. You know, like Alfred Molina hunting them in the woods, I didn't. I wasn't that interested. He fell into his own fucking trap.
He died very violently, though.
I remind me why they had to rescue the dog out of the ice.
I don't remember.
Well, you just watched it an hour ago. Like they had to crawl across ice and pull the wolf out of the ice, but they were digging a pit to catch the dog in at one point. I just think it was all.
How many minutes in the middle did you skip, Kev? 30 minutes?
No, there was a part in the middle where I fell asleep again.
Okay.
But it wasn't that big a deal, you know. Whatever.
At the very start of it, where Navarre arrives back, and I say arrives back or shows himself for the first time, and the new captain, the guy goes Navarre, and somebody goes Captain Navarre, and he just gives him a shove, and a guy falls on Rutger Hauer's
on a sword. Yeah, it's awful. Like, I felt like that guy was his friend.
But then for the rest of the film, he can't get anybody to land on that sword.
Apparently, there's a scene where he does a knife. There's a scene where he does like a little knife flip, and he throws the knife. You know.
Yeah.
Apparently, he was really chuffed that he did that without looking.
Well, he caught it.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, I just dropped my pen. It's harder than it looks.
You have a knife there, right? Did you try it?
No.
Do it with the knife. Do it with the knife.
Do it with the knife.
Don't do it with the knife.
Look, it's kind of like it's. I you know what? I kind of like the story. The movie was boring. It was very boring.
Yeah, no, I think there's a little bit of trying to say we like this from Kev and myself, and it's like I didn't enjoy this, and I won't watch it again. I like fantasy stories. I think there's a kernel of a good idea in here. I kind of want to remake it because we can just get to the fucking point quicker. The mouse's escape is a nice motion. The idea that he's got to like break back into. I think there's a nice like idea there, and it's really nice that like the opening scene sets up that end set piece, like of what they have to do to get in. But it just, I think if I had watched it when I was very young, maybe I'd have enjoyed it a lot more. But like there's not enough Michelle Pfeiffer. There's not enough like shape shifting. I don't know.
Why did they turn into a hawk and a wolf? Why was that a thing? What happened to them?
Because the bishop loves her and he cursed them because she didn't love him back.
Okay, fair.
And they have to break the curse by revealing themselves, confronting him at the end.
I'm just happy I didn't make Emer watch that one of the evenings when I got home from work for 2 hours, because I'd be single right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great review. So let's try this from another angle then. Alternative medieval fantasy movies to watch.
Excalibur.
That came up on my search this week because I was googling Ladyhawke a bit, and I haven't seen that. Have you seen Excalibur, Brian? I mean,
I was way too young when I saw Excalibur.
Was that the Oliver Stone one?
John Borman.
All right, I thought was it with the really shiny metal suits of armor.
Followed up Deliverance. Yeah.
Followed up Deliverance with
Excalibur. You have seen it?
I'm pretty sure I have.
I'd watch that for next week. I've never seen it.
No.
Watch it.
I'm deciding what we get to watch for next week. Because I've not decided that we watch anything yet. Oh, this is the 20th episode.
It is. That's
great news.
Let's finish this out for just a moment. Alternative medieval fantasy. Excalibur. Willow.
Dragonheart.
Dragonheart, I guess.
Highlander.
Princess Bride. In the Name of the Rose. Have you guys seen In the Name of the Rose?
Yes. Sounds familiar.
Sean Connery, Christian Slater, medieval Sherlock Holmes thing. A murder in a monastery. It's good. Anything else you can think of that sort of fits that vein? Like, I was thinking about
Conan the Barbarian.
Gilliam's aesthetic, you know.
Legend.
Legend is a weird one because I in theory I love the look of that film, but I never get through that film without falling asleep at some chunk of it. I don't know if it's just the dreamy nature of it, but like they showed it in the they showed it in the Lighthouse Cinema a few years back, and I went, you know what? I'm going to get through it this time. I'm going to buy a ticket. I'm going to go to the Lighthouse Cinema, and I'm going to watch Legend.
I'm going to sit in a dark room to watch a movie that makes me sleep.
10 o'clock
anyway.
at night. It was a late screening. I fell asleep. I invited people to go and see it. I sold it to people, and then I fell asleep.
It's a good
that
dream
was
piece.
Tim Curry, wasn't it?
Ridley Scott.
It is Ridley Scott as well,
Curry.
isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're talking about Legend, right?
Mm.
With Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Tim Curry is the devil.
Yeah, Tim Curry. Yeah. That's what I was saying. Yeah, Tim Curry's the devil.
Yeah. Ridley Scott directed.
Yeah.
That's our review of Ladyhawke. I mean, at the end, Rutger Hauer is holding her up and spinning in circles in the church, and she's yelling, "I love you," and it's like, I don't know. I haven't seen you two together on screen at all. I don't buy any of this. I don't know. Maybe if I'd seen it if I was young.
I thought she was falling in love with. I thought she was falling in love with Matthew Broderick.
There was a little bit of that, wasn't there?
Also, to be honest, he gave Rutger. His name is Rutger, isn't it? Am I saying this wrong all the time?
No.
Okay, Rutger. He gave Matthew a weird kiss on the cheek. It's like he didn't. He just pressed his lips against the side of his head, and then she kisses him on the cheek, and it's just like that was probably weird for those. That was probably a weird way to film that scene, and then Michelle Pfeiffer kind of made it less weird by giving Matthew a normal kiss on the cheek. But go back and watch it. He gives him a weird kiss. Just kiss him. Just kiss the man, for fuck's sake. Kiss him.
Go kiss boys.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, like, I thought it was nice that he was going to give him a little kiss, but like he just didn't. He just pressed his lips. He pressed the side of his face off the side of his face. It's like, what's wrong with you, man? Just kiss him.
So when you watch Excalibur, keep in mind that I was still in primary school when I saw it.
Yeah.
Okay. I know. There's a scene in it.
What's a movie you saw that when you were way too young?
Excalibur's one.
Terminator. First time I saw someone dying with their eyes open.
How old were you when you saw Terminator?
Early primary school years.
What age is that?
I remember like kind of watching it. Yeah, maybe 7 or 8. I don't know. Then I remember watching it, and a woman gets killed, and she falls in front of the camera. It's at the start of the movie. She has like black curly hair and a purple dressing gown, and she falls dead in front of the camera and her eyes are open, and it was the first time I was like, oh my god, you can die with your eyes open, and it terrified me.
My parents were pretty strict, so there's not a lot that I saw that I wasn't supposed to see. So
My dad went to the video store and came back with Barbarella for me one time.
nice.
That explains a lot.
It does explain a lot.
It is weird. It is a weird.
Oh, like
It is weird.
I watched like the Predator movies in primary school, Terminator movies in primary school, RoboCop. Like I remember, I watched a lot of movies that I probably was far too young to watch, but hasn't damaged me at all.
I mean, Jurassic Park was what year? 92-ish, 93. I would have been 8, I guess. 93. Batman Returns, 92. When Michelle Pfeiffer got pushed off a building and chewed up by cats.
Danny DeVito grabs a woman's boob and then bites a guy's nose off.
That's my move to this day.
Cats ate her face.
What happened, Kev?
Cats ate her face.
No, but like, what actually happened?
Cats ate her face. Aiden knows more about it. Ask him.
Aiden, what happened to her?
I don't know. Cats ate her face. Kev's got more than I do.
Excellent.
That's Malcolm in the Middle is the funniest fucking show.
The best scenes, man. It's so good. Cats ate her face. I don't know. Ask him. He knows more about it. Anyways, so there you go. Ladyhawke. Would you watch it again?
No, I wouldn't. Like I was trying to get into it because like I like Rutger Hauer, I like Matthew Broderick, I like Michelle Pfeiffer,
Brian, and we'd like Brian. Who suggested it? Brian suggested it.
No,
I suggested it. Brian
No.
had seen it. I suggested it because of the Richard Donner of it all.
Oh,
I like it, but I know it's not great.
But that's fine.
I'm
but
not
the
going to
thing
defend
is,
it or anything.
but I know for a fact if I watched that movie when I was a kid, like if I saw that movie when I was like 7, 8, 9, whatever, I probably would have fucking loved it. It would have been brilliant. It would have had adventure with Matthew running around and all that kind of stuff. Would have Rutger, who was like kind of like the stoic kind of, foreboding anti-hero type of thing, and then like Ladyhawke, who Michelle Pfeiffer, who was kind of badass.
It's probably
like
one of the
Hawk
first
Lady.
times I saw her as well. It was love at first
Like,
sight.
Well, when
I think
do you think you saw that? Because you would have seen Batman Returns, right?
I don't think I'd seen Batman Returns yet. I think I'd seen this first. And I saw Batman Returns when it came out on tape.
I went for my birthday, and my brother was 5 or something and had to be taken out of the cinema. I guess the
Well, those Batman movies were kind of creepy.
there is a movie with Michelle Pfeiffer that I watched a couple of years back for the first time and was kind of baffled by what the fuck the thing was trying to do. And it's also 1985, directed by John Landis, starring Michelle Pfeiffer and Jeff Goldblum. It's called Into the Night. Have either of you seen that?
Don't think so.
No.
Ooh. Do I?
No, I'm picking the next movie. I'm picking the
Okay.
next movie. I'm picking the next thing.
Can I put Into the Night on like the long list of something we come back to?
Yes. Okay.
yeah.
Yes.
That was
Uh,
Brian.
Kevin, he's
Brian,
Goldbluming.
mistaken that for enthusiasm. No, he has. I was going to say, I know that he's doing.
Okay. Yes. We'll have to watch it.
I did see The Fly when I was very, very, very
That
young,
fucked
and
me
that
up.
was brilliant. Yeah, it was horrific.
I didn't realize
Yeah,
an arm could break when you were arm wrestling.
I would just like to say thanks to my dad. There was only one movie he said we couldn't watch, and I was relatively older at the time.
What was the movie?
We were warriors. We were warriors. The New Zealand movie.
What was it about that was off limits?
He said I couldn't watch it. I've never watched it.
Okay.
I think it was the depiction of violence against women that made it a movie that he didn't want us to watch.
I think David Bowie's in Into the Night.
He's a feminist, not a racist. It's good to know.
Yes, this is the other
Kev's dad,
The other one.
not a racist.
pro feminism, but you can leave it in for the crack. I don't mind. But yeah, I think it was something like that. And he just, to be honest, because he gave us so much leeway when we were kids and we watched everything. Honestly, like we watched everything, and we probably shouldn't have watched half of the stuff we watched. But when he said like, yeah, don't watch this, it's not really nice. Something I can't remember what he said, but I I kind of just respected it. I was just like, yeah, fair. Like, I'm not going to betray his trust because he gives me so much fucking room to move, you know? It was just like, yeah.
I think we should probably just decide what we're going to watch next week.
What If is out next week, isn't it?
I think it's the 11th of August, so it's the week after.
Let's see.
Suicide Squad?
Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad. That's just it. We'll just watch Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad.
The Suicide Squad, which is in cinemas now and streaming on HBO Max from the 6th of August.
Brian, you're fully vaccinated?
Mm-hmm.
Aiden?
For now.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
We'll probably have to get a third.
Happy birthday to Brian and Aiden. Also, if you can hear this right now, you can be a Tom Brady. You can.
You can do anything.
Yes, you're alive. If you can hear this podcast right now, you're alive. You're a real person. This is episode 20. Go get yourself a pizza.
Or you're in a coma and this is us trying to reach you. Wake up. If you're listening, you're in a coma. Wake up.
Wake up.
We want you to come back to us. We're trying to reach you. Come back.
Yeah.
But you are alive. But you're also asleep. You can be alive while asleep.
Yeah.
Most people are alive while they're asleep, actually.
Most people.
I don't know if you guys know that. Do you know that?
No. Yeah, well, you can't wake up dead.